Hello guys, welcome to another part. From the last part to today, we have there's been about a week or so, so I haven't really opened it, and I kind of remember where we left it. But I do remember that last time when I stopped recording, I did a few things that I just wanted to go through because I was just tidying some things up, and then one thing led to another. So I did a few more volume tweaks here and there. I remember that I lowered this loop because he was over here and he was a bit too high, so I lowered that loop. I compressed the kick and the snare a tiny little bit, which I will show you in a moment why I've done that. I've added a clipper to the mix bus. I'll also show that. And I did these moves because I remembered that I wasn't too happy at the end of the last video. Can't remember if I mentioned or not, but basically I was feeling like the gain staging wasn't like that great like I wanted. I think we were too quiet, and I wanted to be at around minus 14 LUFS. We'll reset that, but that's roughly where we are. And I wanted to, by the end of the mix, with limiting already, I wanted to be at that level. So I will show you all of these things. And one other thing that I did as well was I removed this tape machine from here, and I removed it into that other auxiliary mix bus that we had created before with the Fairchild. So I have basically changed that. I removed the tape machine was here, and I just basically put it there because I felt like it was as I brought the kick and the snare up, it was doing something very weird to the transients. It was like squashing the song a little bit. So I figured that it would be better to just put it here in parallel, and then just kind of came up with a nice balance. And then from those two auxiliary mix buses, then we sent to our mix bus, which is where we're final mix bus anyway, which is where we're doing a bit of limiting. The only other thing that I also did that I can remember was that I gave a tiny little boost of just about 1 dB and a half at around 7K because I felt like it needed a bit of opening in the high end, which I'll also kind of show why that was done. And then one final thing actually that I'm just remembering is I routed every single effect, which is the blue tracks here. I've got a few plates on the vocal, a few effects on the keys, and I've got a verb on the drums. So I routed all of them to an all effects, basically, because I felt like I think it was a bit too wet. So I routed them here, and then we can just adjust all the effects at once as we go. Because now what I want to do next is go to my monitors and bypass, which I already have, bypass this correction that we were doing because of the headphones, so that we could listen to the mid frequencies a bit better. So now I want to bypass that so that I can listen to the low end properly on my actual speakers. So before we do that, I'll just show you these things that I said I did, and I'm going to show you why we've done that. So let's just kind of loop that section and go to the snare first. So for the snare, what we did was we like I said, like I was bringing the gain of each of my groups to hit the mix bus a bit harder. And as I was doing that, not only that tape plugin was being a bit messy, that's why I moved it over to this parallel. So not only was doing that, obviously I had to adjust the threshold here a bit as well to kind of get the same bit of compression, of course, as I obviously brought the levels up of these groups. But I felt like it was compressing too much, and it was bouncing the track a lot as I brought the general levels up. So I felt like I had to not only put a clipper here on the drum bus to kind of just tame the peaks of kick and snare, but also I felt like both kick and snare needed a little bit of very fast compression to help even more with taming those peaks before going to the drum bus, basically. So I will show you that in action. Let's play the chorus. This was already in place. I think we had done it before, which was cutting a bit of that an annoying frequency on the snare. But basically, like as I engaged and like took it out, I think you can tell that it was more prominent. And then doing this bit of compression kind of lowers the volume a little bit, which is fine. And it's doing like 3-4 dBs of compression, is not doing more. But then with the clipper, I don't know if you notice, we gain a bit of that volume back again with a bit of saturation. I think this is a free plugin, by the way. I can't remember, I think it is. But with a bit of the saturation and just clipping that bit of the kick at the top, we basically gain the volume that we lost here. Of course, here we gain the volume overall in the whole of the drums. However, it sounds okay, so why not? I think why not keep it? So yeah, that's why I did that. It was like a couple of minutes really, and I just thought to do it to prep it for this time. The way that I've raised the volume in each of these, because obviously I couldn't go, I mean I could go higher here, but not desirable, is that I just gained with this plugin, this NLS bus, I gained 6 dB exactly in each of my groups. So I didn't engage any of the drive because that's more saturation, and I wasn't sure whether we needed any of that. Plus, it'd be more interesting to be showing here if we need that, if it sounds good or not. But didn't do that. I just literally used this plugin like as a gain plugin. And then I thought of it as later, if we need a bit more saturation in a particular group, we already have a plugin that does that, so why not use it? So as you can see, like it's 6 dB of gain in each of them, 6 dB, same for the vocals and the others. And then like I said, the pull tech, I didn't have to touch it, but then on the mix bus, I had to adjust the threshold so that the compression we kept here was about the same. So let me play a bit so you see that the needle is barely moving like it was before. I get home back to you, home back to my life. You gotta wear this guy. Yeah, we're getting about the same as we did before. This stayed the same. I didn't touch it. I just moved it, and this stays not engaged at the moment. Like we said, we were gonna check it later if we feel like it needs to. If we forget about it, it means that it's sounding okay, so we probably don't need it. And then the only other plugin I added on the sum of our two mix buses was this plugin, which is a pulsar equalizer. And I just played with these to see what it sounded better. And I basically just gave it a tiny boost with auto gain so we can hear it before and after. I just felt like it opened things up nicely, so I just, put it there to kind of evolve the sound towards what we want it to sound like. So let's play before and after. I exaggerated it a bit, or quite a lot actually, for you to see. Like it doesn't. This plugin is amazing, and I did get it for free as well when it first came out, and it's so smooth. Like the higher end is not harsh or piercing or anything. Like it's an amazing plugin to have on a mix bus. It allows you to do mid side as well, which is really cool. And the curves are like really really good. Like it's a good alternative to like a Poltec or another bus EQ. Like this is really nice. So we'll leave it there. We can tweak it later if you feel like you need some more or a bit more mid-range, just in the middle or something. But we also have this other plugin if we want to mess with a bit later for like mid-side, you know, processing if we feel like it needs to. So yeah, other than that, like I said, I just put all the effects here. And then the one thing that I want to check now is the low end, which for that I'm going to take my headphones off and I'm going to engage my monitors. I will turn off my microphone so that it's not capturing obviously what I'm listening to, which would distort the sound for you guys. But I won't talk obviously during that period of time. And then I'll just explain. So basically what I'm going to look at is, let's reset this to VU. I will explain after what I'm doing. And I want to be listening to just the low end. I might apply a filter. We'll see. Let me leave it here if I need to. And I might apply, let's say, a high cut just to listen merely to the low end. And I might do that like that, kind of like a steep curve, just to see how they interact and like if they're bouncing together, if one is like very like more prominent than the other. So that's what I'm going to be looking at right now. And then I will explain exactly what it is that I have done. So for a while, perhaps you won't hear me talk. I'll just disengage my mic. my computer just crashed there for a second, but I'm going to reduce my monitors completely and just listen to my headphones now and explain sort of what we have been doing this whole time. So the first thing that I went to mix was the bass. And I noticed, I tried that one first. I didn't feel like it worked, but usually this plugin works really well. Even if you don't boost anything, you just engage it. And it just bumps the low end straight away. But I felt like I needed a bit more sub from that bass, because when I was using this to listen just to the very lows, it was all I could hear was kick. Like I couldn't listen to the bass. And so I was playing with the frequencies. I created a little parallel chain that I sent the bass to this so I could blend it in. And I think this is free, this plugin, and this is amazing. And so I was playing with the frequencies, and if you notice, I kind of found that around 74 was a good frequency, as not to compete with the kick. And the kick, I boosted it at 50. So that's sort of the balance that was feeling right to me. It wasn't on purpose, or like I didn't pick those frequencies just for any particular reason. But I felt like as I was boosting the bass with this plugin, I felt like I needed a tiny bit of separation from the kick. And that's why I've then boosted the kick at around 50 to kind of counterpose with the bass being boosted at 74. So basically I blended that parallel send on for a bit more bass, and then it got me to a level that I was a bit happier. I was just checking here and with the rest of the drums and the song and everything. So that's sort of the balance that I was looking for. And if you noticed, I put this on VUs, and I was checking, like there's a trick. Let's set this back to 0. And there's a trick that a lot of professional mixers talk about, which is to adjust the VU meter in a way, with the gain knob, in a way that the kick alone is hitting at about -3. And then what should happen in terms of balance is that when you engage the bass, the voltage, or like the energy from the low end, will take the needle to about 0. Now mine was coming about halfway, and I can fiddle with the low end a bit more later to try to have it a bit more consistent and coming here. But this bass is not very low end heavy, so I will have to do some more parallels, or I'll have to boost the very lows in a different way if I want to get more of that energy. But to be fair, the way that it is sounding, I am quite happy with that. Like it was showing here, not in this particular moment where we stopped it, but it was overall with a slope of 3 dB. And with any analyzer, or even a plugin that has got an analyzer, you don't need to have this, even though this is also for free. This TDR Prism, this analyzer, it was showing me sort of like a very even, consistent spectrum of frequencies for the whole track in a busy chorus. And that's sort of what we're looking at. Like with a slope of 3, you will have a slight decrease. That's sort of normal, but that is just showing that there's nothing in this particular moment. Yeah, you had the kick probably hitting, and you had a bit of a boost here for some instrument, but usually it was when I changed it to, it isn't infinite, but if you change it to slow, or and then to the different, like fastest is too fast, I think infinite is probably the best. But even if you use it at slow, I think you can see that if it's consistent, I think you have achieved a good balance overall. And that's kind of how visually, because this is just a tool to confirm what we are listening, and visually it was confirming what I was hearing, which is I'm happy with the overall balance of kick, bass, and then kick and bass compared to the rest of the track. Like I don't have a massive boost here, and then the rest of the track is weak, and or like I don't have a lot of highs and lows, and then I don't have mid range. That's not the case. Like I'll show you in a second again. Like I have got a consistent balance throughout the track, and so that's what I was looking for. I did notice, or I was hearing that as well, that I felt like this was a bit of a weak region, like before, or like between 5 to 10k. And so I went here to this equalizer and I boosted. Um, I didn't actually, but this, yeah, this is something. Let's listen actually, because I feel like it needs a bit of energy here. And because the computer crashed, I was under the impression that I had already gone here and boosted, and actually I didn't. So let's do that actually. I feel like it needs a bit more, and I think that I'm going to do that. Because in my head, I already had, and actually I didn't. Pleasing to the ear, I find it. That is very, it's so subtle, but like it's such a lovely frequency that is not harsh or anything. It's just it's a lovely plugin, and hopefully some of you got the chance of getting it for free as well when it came out. But if you didn't, it's a shame, because it's a lovely lovely plugin. Let's bypass that. I'm quite happy with the overall balance. I think what we're going to do next, in the next video, might be that we will look at some more vocal effects. Like I want to create some special moments in the song to make the vocal stand out. I want to make it thicker by ways of using maybe some doublers or some stereo effects. We can play with the pitch as well and make it sound fuller, basically. And then after that, what I want to do is automation. Like I want to do some rides with the song, and for example, what we have here, which is something that we can actually copy. If I put 1 point here, and then we copy those points to the previous chorus, copy points, and then we should be able to paste it here. How do we do this? Sorry to those of you who use Reaper quite a lot and who may be thinking this is just obvious. Can I duplicate points? Maybe. Copy points. This is annoying me. Okay. Can I control V? I can control V. Actually. Oh, there you go. Perfect. And it is spot on. And then let me delete that one. Or unless that one, oh yeah, it's present there as well. So yeah, let's keep it. To do the sort of the same thing, and then we can listen and see if it makes sense going into the second verses. Get home, I get home back to you. I get home back to my life. Ain't gotta wear no disguise. Oh, I get home back to you. Home back to my life. Ain't gotta wear no disguise. Testing all day. I think this is a bit exaggerated. To be fair, I thought it was a bit too much. Maybe we don't need to do it that much. Or maybe we can just do that. That one. We can delete that point. We can cut that point as well. And we can maybe do it like that. Eyes. Testing all day. Eyes. Yeah, we need to refine that, but the idea is there. Over here makes more sense. Over here maybe not so much, and then we'll think about that. So yeah, we need to do automation when we come back next time. And the vocal effects, and then we'll listen and we'll see if we need anything else. Let's just look at the volume in the final chorus. I like to have always an RMS meter and then my LUFS meter. And what I like to compare is that my sort of integrated LUFS are matching roughly my RMS, and that's a good indicator to show that the low end in the track is matching the perceived loudness, because like the LUFS is a unit of perceived loudness. The RMS kind of show the energy of the track. We all know that low end has got more energy, so we need to be looking at to see if this is kind of matching and within the ballpark or of the same sort of level. Because imagine you have got minus 17 LUFS, but then your RMS is minus 14. What that's telling me is that there's way more energy on the track than what I perceive in loudness, meaning perhaps I've got too much bass. I'll repeat maybe to make sure it makes sense. So it's important these numbers are sort of matching, because if there's too much bass, it will show like I have less, or like a higher, a number closer to zero rather, of RMS. And then my perceived loudness is not accompanying that RMS level, basically. And what that tells me is, okay, if this number is much lower and this is closer to zero, means that there's more energy than actually I perceive in loudness. So the track sounds quieter than actually it is in terms of energy and in terms of space. And when that number is kind of like 3, a difference of like 3, or there's something wrong. So I need to double check my low end again. So let's listen. I hope that makes sense. And let's listen to the chorus, see if that's kind of matching. Perfect, I would say. Perfect. Is always within kind of 1 of range, which is fine. But this was like always at minus 13, minus, 13, 14, minus 12, and so was this. And obviously the short term and the integrated, they will be slightly different. But this is the current, so you can look at the short term. But I find that looking at a bit of both, sort of like to do an average of all of these three. And if the average is kind of the same, then I'm happy, and it's sounding really good. We are at -14 like we wanted. We're not peaking, and it's sounding good. I think. I I hope so far I have been clear on gain staging and why I use these meters and why things sort of make sense in my head, because finally they do, and for a long time they didn't. But they are kind of making sense right now. And in terms of limiting, like we're just cutting tiny bit of the peaks. And as you can see, we're like cutting -1.5 on the kick and the snare, which is nothing. And that's sort of a type of, average limiting. Is nothing too crazy, too harsh. And that's just to get us to those -14, with being still a very dynamic song, um, which is sounding good. Like it's not squashed, and you can see that the song builds up and goes down again. It's not kind of a song without emotion, which is not what we want. So I'll leave this episode here, and then next time we'll come back to the things we have just mentioned. Thank you for watching.